Um, well, it was really a question of being able to do more things than I'd been able to do up to that point. I wanted to be able, for example, to use Skype to talk to my family. I've got a sister in New Zealand, and I've got family in Japan. I've got people all over the world. So being and in different time zones.
Right.
So actually having that app was one of the most important things for me, being able to have that, which before wasn't possible.
Okay. I think for me, the big factor was I'm not on a contract, so I didn't want to get a phone that tied me to one of the phone companies.
Hmm.
And I think the other big factor is I just changed my phone maybe about 2 weeks ago, and I had a really sort of top of the range, expensive phone, and it lasted me about 2 weeks. Sorry, two
Oh, really?
weeks, 2 years. It didn't last me 2 weeks at all.
I wondered. I
It,
thought, well, that really wasn't a very good deal, Mick, was
it
it?
lasted me about 2 years, which for the money I paid, I just kind of like thought, I'm not going to do this again. So I've got quite a mid-range phone now. And if the screen dies after 2 years, I don't mind so much because paying paying about 200 euros for it isn't quite as bad as what I paid for the other ones. So they were the big two factors. I think the other one was probably I wanted it in a rush because, as I say, the old one the screen died, so I needed something pretty urgently. So I went with something I could buy online and get it delivered as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, for me, the thing too was that the one I had before was pretty old-fashioned. All the new generations of phones that come in, it's impossible to keep up with them. At least from my point of view, because
Yeah.
I'm not a very techie person. So probably most of the apps, or the very few apps I had on my old phone, I didn't really use them. I mean, I'm not interested in gaming or any of those sort of things that you can do on your phone.
Yeah.
But it was communication for me, and actually also changing from a pay as you go, which is what I had before, which in some ways was quite good. But changing over to a contract that actually gave me a bit more flexibility, and I realised that in the long run I wasn't actually going to be paying much more than I'd been paying before. So for me, probably those two things. Being able to just get into contact, any time of the day or night, wherever I am, with whichever friend or family member I want to talk to, and of course with Skype I can actually see them while I'm talking to them, so that's very nice, and it's a very economical way of keeping in touch, and then just overall getting more probably for the monthly outlay on my phone, the financial outlay.
Ooh, I think there's lots of places. I mean, I think the big one is obviously in your car when you're driving. That's a big kind of. It really winds me up when I see people, even sat at traffic lights, sort of checking their phone. Often, sort of, it's there on the passenger seat, and people are leaning over. It kind of. I just think you should be looking and seeing what's going on around you rather than actually checking messages. And anybody who's actually moving forward. I don't know. I've never done it, but I'm always tempted to just go and, if they're driving slowly or for in a traffic jam or a queue or something, I'm always tempted to knock on the window very loudly and try and scare them. I've never done it yet, but I'm tempted.
Yeah, no, well, I agree with you about that, and I mean, it's a fact that every now and again you really see terrible accidents that are directly the result of people trying to drive and use the phone at the same time. So, I mean, I actually think that there should be really severe penalties for anyone who's caught doing that. I'm not sure. Some of the other places that I don't like to see people using their mobile phones too much. It's in any kind of enclosed public space. When people are talking really loudly on their phones. So, for example, if you're traveling by train,
Right.
and you're trying to you read the newspaper, or even have a quiet chat with a companion, or just look out the window and enjoy the scenery. and you've got someone next to you shouting into their phone, usually talking about really, to my mind, unimportant things like, what are we going to have for dinner when I get home tonight, or, what's the weather like where you are, that sort of thing, but in a very loud, very, very intrusive kind of way.
Yeah.
I don't like that. And funnily enough, when I was traveling in Japan, I was very pleased to see that on all Japanese trains, even on the high speed, the bullet train, using a mobile phone in the carriage is completely forbidden. And you have to, yes, yeah, totally forbidden.
Wow.
And you have to leave the carriage and go outside into the area between the carriages if you want to talk on your phone. And of course, and actually, everybody accepts this, so it's very nice, it's very pleasant, you can, off you go. And of course, being Japanese trains, I have to say, they're wonderfully clean and comfortable and efficient. So if you have to go and stand outside in the corridor to make a phone call, it's not any hardship, it's perfectly comfortable, perfectly pleasant there, So I think that's something that I would think of introducing. I don't know if it would work in Spain, I have to say, but maybe not.
I think a lot of the fast trains have like a quiet carriage where you can't use your phone here. My experience would be that that's ignored quite regularly. But actually, that's why I'm so surprised at the idea of the whole train. I think the other big thing I'd say, obviously, as a teacher, is in the classroom, I would really quite happily sort of have some kind of, I don't know, the technology must exist so we can block people using their phones in class. Because for me, the idea is you're there to practice speaking, and you need the language that you're learning. And so people WhatsApping in one language while trying to sort of talk to their partner in class, it just really winds me up, to be honest.
Yes, me too, I have to say. It's a definite no-no from my point of view.